right, guys, how's it going? All right, we had some technical difficulties, but hopefully we got it all figured out. Welcome to the show. I'm super excited about it. Let's just jump in and get it started. Here we go. All right, guys. My name is Victor Medina. I have been a comic book artist for 20 years, and I've been a colorist for not that long. But um, I'm really excited about today's show because I have a guest on that I recently met last year, and it's been amazing to get to know him. He's an incredible artist. He's worked for Marvel, DC, Aspen. I want to say Image as well. He's done a bunch of stuff, and I'm super excited for you guys to see him. Let's bring him in here, you guys. My special guest, Koi Turnbull.
Certified badass.
How you doing? What's going on, Victor?
Hey, man, how's it going? How are you?
All right, how you doing now? What's going
Good,
on?
good, good. I'm not live streaming on Facebook. I don't know what's going on over there. It says
Hmm.
we are, but I don't see it. So this is odd. I might have to stop it over there and restart it here in a second. Let me do this. There's so many little difficulties before today's show that
The
it's
little gremlins, the little tech grems.
yeah, seriously. All right, let's see if that works. Hopefully it does. Let's push start there, and hopefully it starts streaming. I think we're streaming on YouTube. So, all right, man, it is good to have you on the show. Thank you for coming on.
Sure.
Super excited.
Thanks for
All right,
having me.
it looks like we're going on YouTube. Um, let's just jump into it. I met you last year, and it was my first time meeting you. And for anybody out there who doesn't know you, because like me, I'm awful with names, so I don't know anybody. Tell everyone a little bit about yourself, how you got started, and
All right.
what you've done over the years.
All right. Well, first off, because everybody, my name is Koi Turnbull. I've been in the business now for like, I guess since 1999, and I've worked on books from Detective Comics to independents, I mean, I even had Vampirotica as one of the books I've drawn to Aspen, which is Fathom for Aspen. I did like 11 issues of that, which was a great run. And then went over to working for Marvel and DC on, some titles like Black Panther, um, Superman Confidential, Wolverine. I forget the actual back name of that one was, but I've had quite a fun career so far, and working on a bunch of independents at the moment, and trying to just keep the skills growing, and see what else comes past or can grow out of that anyway. Can kind
Yeah.
of work and grow out of that.
Um, you were telling me um the other day you've been doing this for a really long time. How did you break in? What was the project? What did you do?
All right. Well, the first project I worked on, when I was 17, I worked on an independent book called Vampirotica. I was literally, I didn't know how to draw anything on that book. But I had samples that I had worked on for like 6 months, and basically, uh, Lindo, I guess the editor, also creator of the entire series, had really liked my work at the time, and it was, I mean, honestly, that was some pretty bad work that I could look back on now, but it actually was what got me here though. So it's like, this what got me my first step. So I don't want to, sandbag. I don't want to bag it, but at the same time, it did get me here. It
Yeah.
did get my start. So I did that project, and then for like I said, I was 17, so I didn't get anything for a good little bit. Working, whatever kind of job that I can, but then I moved back to New York. I want to say like around 98, and 99 was when I was doing backgrounds for Adam Polina slash
Oh,
Walter McDaniel. Walter McDaniel taught me a heck of a lot. Um, and from there, Walt actually was the one that introduced me to Matt Adelson. Did a couple of test projects for Marvel, but I would say that the big project that got me started was What If number 137, I want to say it was,
okay.
and it was the issue with what if the savage, or what if New York had remained a savage land, which was a storyline in Kazar at that time. Honestly, I think I did that book in 7 weeks or something like that. That was that was tough. That was tough only because I had never drawn a book of that size on my own before.
Hmm.
You know, it helped out a couple of people at that time working on their backgrounds, but to do the whole thing myself, that was interesting. That was challenging at the time, but it was fun. I mean, like I would have I got to draw like a bunch of Marvel characters on my first project, which was like, obviously they were a little unruly in this one. Like the Punisher, I believe, was in this one. There was a couple of like he wasn't toting around guns if I remember right, but he was still pretty brutal with the axe. And then it was like I said, I got to draw Kazar in that issue. Spider-Man, I think, was also in that issue. It was pretty fun because at the end of the issue, I got to draw Thanos holding the five rings, of the gauntlet, and that was fun. So there is a couple of benefits out of doing it, and I guess it was just a story, really, you know.
Oh, nice. Um,
So from
how do you?
there,
Oh yeah. Go
go
ahead.
ahead. No, no, but I was gonna say from there, I went back to doing projects with Walter McDaniel. Did some work with let's see here, Mattel, Hasbro. I mean, quite a few things actually in that time. But
Hmm.
that's when he introduced me to, I think it was Eddie Berganza at DC Comics, and we
Oh,
worked
okay, yeah,
on Young Justice #8, and then that was my first DC book. And from there, I just been kind of like in and out of the industry ever, like in one form or another, ever since. Like I said, I did 11 issues of Fathom for Aspen Comics. That was fun. That also got me to really see what it was like to do this as a business every single day. Um, I already was working like as if this was like a regular 9 to 5 sort of thing, but I think the pressure of turning out a book every single month, that's a learning curve. There's a lot
yeah,
that you have to leave out. There's a lot that you have to add in, but so it's a matter of always, working that pendulum, which way, more detail, less detail, no detail, storytelling. Storytelling, was always like the heart of everything. So I never cheaped out on that area. But what I did have to cheap out on was detail, like because detail sometimes can get you caught up, time wise. So it's that book taught me a lot, and really about time. I think time was the biggest thing that I had to learn how to navigate on every single page, because if you're spending, too long, that's less time that you could spend on another page that could be really cool.
yeah.
So,
Oh yeah.
or some kind of anchor page, which I heard a lot of artists, have anchor pages, that they can like pretty much draw everything they want to put down on that one page or maybe a couple of pages to make the whole book sing, and then they can kind of like phone in the rest.
Yeah.
That's I that's kind of hard for me. To me, I like to see the whole thing looking consistent. So
I, I have
that's
a,
my process.
how do you break out of that background artist? What did you have to do? Because I know there's a lot of guys that have started background artists, but how do you
First off,
break out of that?
mhm. First off, I took pride in drawing backgrounds. I think that's number one. You gotta, to me, you have to enjoy the project that you're working on in front of you. You have to
Hmm.
take it on. There isn't oh, I wish I could do this better, or I wish I can draw the figures instead of the backgrounds. To me, they all work together. One of the
Hmm.
great things about working with Adam was he had this line, oh, the cars are your main characters. The cars are your superheroes. Talking about that's what I had to do.
Yeah.
So basically, I was the one who had to draw the cars for him, and here I am drawing in every single bolt and every single spoke. And if I didn't put those things in, he would call me on that. And man, in the long run, that turned out to be such a great thing, because in the time it's like, oh man, come on, man, I want to go hang out, I want to go do this, instead of sitting here drawing. But that discipline of making sure that everything that you actually draw, take care of it. Don't skimp out. Don't, oh, well, nobody will see this. Man, that's the exact thing that everybody will see. Is usually your,
Yeah.
your biggest mistake is the thing that they will see. So it's like, don't skimp out. I mean, it I was taught, if you're gonna do something, do it right the first time. Otherwise,
Yeah,
you're gonna have to correct it later
yeah,
on. And if I went through so many corrections with this or that, whenever I would just kind of like slough it off, that eventually it was like, you know what? If I just take it serious on every single shot, yeah, okay, maybe it'll be a little longer than I actually intended, but at least it won't come back as a correction. Why? Because I didn't take the proper time and actually do the work.
yeah,
So I always tell people, when you want to make that transition from being a background artist to, you know, a full-fledged, I guess, character slash storytelling artist, do the job that's in front of you. I guarantee you, if you do the job that's in front of you, all the other jobs that will come later on are based off of that one that you're doing in front of you at that moment. You're drawing circles, great. You get to draw eyes better next time. You're drawing squares, great. You get to, have a shorthand for a head or the shape of the anatomy different places a little easier. Each project gets easier. It's hard, yes, in terms of like when you're working on it in a moment, the amount of time you spend, but I guarantee you, when you're done and you look at the project and you're like, wow, look at the pages, look at what I was able to achieve. Suddenly, that amount of time looks more beneficial to you, or you think you took good time. You could be doing a number of other things, but instead, you bet on yourself and you make sure that this project that's in front of you look its best. I
yeah,
think that when a person hires you for a project, you take that seriously. You enhance it to the point where they're not even thinking about it on. If that means, you added a couple of extra, like in the case of we worked on a project together, you added some great smoke, to the image, and it was, I'm telling you, there was nothing there, but you added some great smoke to it. That's the type of initiative that I like to see and I think that if you're breaking in, and you use that word pretty loose, pretty tightly there, because breaking in just means that yeah, every project you're going to feel like you're breaking in.
yeah,
So you're not going to know how to draw this. You're not going to know how to draw that. And every project is you teaching yourself how to draw that thing. Whether that, for me on the project I'm working on right now, I have to draw a lot of likenesses, facial likenesses,
yeah.
and the first time I tried drawing somebody's face, oh man, eyes was all over the place. I couldn't even keep the eyes on a right, level track. And instead, because one eye would be up here, one eye would be down here, and people would be like, man, you got some dynamic figures, but man, your faces, right? And as time went on, I had to work on that, and it's like the thing that I think, like I said, when you talk about how do you break to that next level, the project that you're working on is how you break your rust out. Like, uh, I think I tell every single person I meet at a convention, or if they ask me for my advice on things, what do they say? What do they ask me to work on? I say work on your shapes. Your shapes are the biggest, like, problem solvers. Your bricks, like your foundational bricks to a wall or whatever, that it actually solves so many problems. The
Yeah.
moment that you start thinking, okay, well, this is an ear that I'm drawing, you done lost. It's like, but you have to think about it as shapes. It's like, is this a part of a circle? Okay, when I attach this line here, am I creating that triangle in the right angle, or am I creating that triangle in the right space? Is it lined up the right way from eye to head? I mean, to eye to the forehead where the hair meet. You're constantly you're constantly measuring. I think that's the word I'm looking for. And shapes is a way to actually navigate your mind into simplifying things a little bit, because when you're constantly thinking, okay, this is an eye I have to draw, you want that eye to look like the eye that you're looking at, whatever. Well, after
Yeah.
a time, you start to lose out on the shape. But if you keep thinking about circles and how this circle here is in the middle of the shape, but then there's another circle around that. I'm actually describing the eye if anybody wants to know. This is this is like this is the thought process that you have to take in order to make sure that the project gets done, or that the drawing that you're working on gets done. So
We have a question for you. Mo asks, "What is your favorite character to draw?"
um I think every day I find a new one, so that's kind of, talk to me on a different day. But today I'll say Wolverine. Other days I've said Storm because I love the way that I draw the way her hair and her eyes and all that good stuff. Um, but I gotta say, like every project, I end up loving that character or that project pulls out something out of me that I didn't quite see before. Um, I could say that when I drew Fathom, for instance, God, every single time I drew Aspen, I actually fell in love with her every single time because she was different. She was also somebody that I normally would have. I don't think I ever would have met her. So therefore, this is an opportunity to draw somebody that I wouldn't have never met. So yeah, in terms of answering the question, um, every character I work on, I make them my favorite. And to me, every project I've ever worked on, I've always gone into it with that flavor. When I drew Spider-Man for that one issue, he had other background characters that were actually telling the whole story. I got more into that character by the end of the issue than I liked drawing Spider-Man, even though I thought I drew Spider-Man pretty cool in that issue.
Okay.
So it really just depends, you know what I mean? Like for instance, my favorite character is Silver Surfer. I don't even want to get into the new movie, but we'll get into that some other time. But I love that character, you know what I mean? And to me, I'm like, uh, if I ever had the opportunity to draw that character, oh man, I'd kill it. I would absolutely, well, because one of my favorite artists ever, Ron Lim drew it, and
Yes.
to me, I would only want to draw it just to keep up with that level, even though I know that's like miles up above me. But I'm just saying, it's every character I have like that. I find some kind of passion about them in order to make sure that that character gets the justice on paper they deserve. You know.
Yeah. Well, what we're gonna do right now is oh, K-pop says Aspen. Yeah, it's one of her
Haha,
all-time
yeah.
faves. He's got
That's
he's
what's
got
up.
he's
Yep.
got some amazing artwork in there. I had to do my homework to for the show, and I gotta say,
Mm-hmm.
you have so many good pieces in your
Thanks,
Aspen
man.
run. Yeah, I
Yeah,
loved it.
thanks.
All
Yeah,
right,
that was fun. That was
I'm
fun.
gonna go ahead and switch around his camera so he could do some sketching. We're gonna watch the magic happens.
Yeah. Yeah, I actually kind of started while we were talking. So while you was introducing me, so I don't want anybody thinking, oh yeah, he already has a prearranged drawing. No, I
he
actually kind of
didn't
drew this
he didn't have
right on the
nothing when we
spot
started.
actually. Yeah, right. So I'm telling you, there was nothing here earlier. So, but you know, for me, when I worked on Aspen, I didn't know how to draw women. Like I can honestly say, um, that was the hardest part of my game. When I met when Mike gave me his idea on how you draw a woman, which was that they should, as beautiful as you want to draw them, they should also be elegant
Yeah,
rather. And that sat with me. Like, it's one thing to, you know, you can over sexualize a lady in a heartbeat, depending on how you draw. But I feel like if you can get that subtleness, whether it's the way she moves or whether it's the way she even just holds her chin, that to me is more important than it is about drawing all the other parts that we all know what makes a lady, well, physically make a lady. It's just a lot
yeah,
easier. I think if you can get into the mind, because when I wasn't getting into the mind and I was merely like, oh man, how do you draw this? Uh, is that her? Is that where her ribs are at, or is that where her breasts at? I lost the fight every single time. My figures didn't look right. But the moment that I started to draw her with her consciousness in my mind,
hmm
Aspen started to roll out every single time afterwards, or so I should say rather, yeah, Aspen started to roll out every single time afterwards. Particularly got into her jewelry. Um, when I used to go into the to the shows, everybody would see me draw her hula hoops, for earrings, and people
yeah,
would be like, "Man, I remember somebody had a comment. I'm not gonna say it here, but somebody had a comment. I had at school. I was like, "Yo, that's not just because she got the big old hoops. That don't mean anything. It's just that's a style thing. It's something that,
yeah.
I grew up in Jamaica, Queens. So to
Hmm.
me, I used to always see herringbone earrings,
Yeah.
and to me, that used to always catch me. It's like, yo, man, she's wearing on this herringbone, and it was cool. It was, it was something. It was decorative about what she was wearing, and to me, when I'm drawing women, that's how I think on them. I think on not just um, the physical attributes, but what are they wearing? Their personality shines through wherever it is that they're wearing. So that's how I think on them.
Let's see. K-pop says, I took that Phantom Wizard special to school every day and drew all the art.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, you saw the Wizard episode
The
with
Aspen
Mike
one, yeah.
Pivot? That was fun. That was fun. That was fun.
So
The
you're saying you want to get
he
into the mind of the character. How much of it is character study and how much of it is you're just going to go on the fly?
uh, it depends on how much time I have, but most times I try to crunch that into both, all at the same time, because when you're drawing the character, um, I don't think there's a moment when the valve of
Your
his or her character
your wife
should
said
turn
to
off.
remove your hat.
Oh well, that's not
That's
gonna
what's
happen.
you can turn it backwards
So
because you're
so
blurring the camera. Your
oh.
hat gets
Well,
into it.
you can
Just
do
turn
this
it
for the
around.
time
There you
being
go.
then. Yeah.
Now just put your hand towards the camera
So
again, like you did earlier, and then slowly should
oh
clear
no
up.
no.
Do it
There
again
we
a
go. Try
little
it one more
closer.
time.
There it goes.
There we go.
Now just there it is.
All right. There we go.
She
So
just didn't
I
want
had
to
a
see the
lesson
New
learned
York
that from
Mets hat.
you. That's like a day-to-day thing. So because I wear my hat almost every day, man. So she's like probably like, let him see the hair.
So getting back to what you were saying, so
Mm-hmm.
you got this book. Let's say it's Aspen. I think you're drawing Daredevil right now, from what I
Exactly.
can see. Um, you got that book. You've done your character studies. You're you got them down to start the book.
Right.
Is there a process between script and
Yeah, go ahead.
you know you've already done these studies, so what's the process between getting the script? Like, are you trying to stay
Okay.
loose? You're trying to just get as comfortable as you can with that character before you start?
So usually I read the whole script out first.
Hmm.
Um, the script, I don't. Yeah, like everything that I plan has everything to do with the script first. If the script tells me that this character is going to eat hot dogs, I need to find as many different hot dogs or hot dog stands anyway to find out what it would look like. Say, the perfect character. Let's say it was Daredevil. Daredevil's swinging in and he's gonna go grab um, a vendor's hot dog. It's gonna, I need to know what that vending machine look, or not vending machine, but that vendor's stand looks like.
Hmm.
So I'll get some reference, but then I'll thumbnail right on the script if it's on paper. Everything's digital now. I'll thumbnail uh usually I have a little side pamphlet that I have here where I'll literally draw out every single scene in the script. From that point, and it's usually thumbnail, so it's not anything too tight. It's just something that's going to tell me this is the idea that I have for the page.
Yeah.
And as I start to thumbnail things out, I start thinking of themes through, like, is this character going through this, or is this character going through that? Um, what are the background characters? What are they doing? Or like what time of the year is this? Is this in winter, or is this in the spring? Is this taking place in Central Park, or is this taking place in LA?
Yeah.
And that may take a couple of days, because in terms of looking for like a different reference, and um really is the reference I find is the longest part, actually, because the drawing of it, once you have all the reference, it's kind of like automatic after that. So from once I have my reference, like, and usually the referencing part, just because I think I have all the reference when before I start the project, or before I draw page one, even when I'm actually drawing the stuff, I'm still looking for reference
Yeah.
during the process. It's just that that initial surge of looking, usually that's when all the ideas are generating. Sometimes I'll take notes. Um, not well, if I notate anything as in drawing notes, I'll do that again if it's on paper script, which is sometimes I'll like to print it out. Um, I'll draw it right on the actual script because to me it's like seeing the words and the art actually blend together in that moment, or the scene actually blend together. Sometimes it doesn't work out so great because drawing small isn't always my favorite thing to do. But
Yeah.
when it's thumbnails, I don't mind messing with it a little bit, at that point. So
Yeah.
from there, go ahead, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say I love the process of thumbnails because um, they're usually really loose, and
Mm-hmm.
you're kind of seeing things you probably wouldn't have drawn when you started it. Like you get funny
Right.
lines because you're drawing so loose. It's one of the things I
Mm-hmm.
love about doing these really loose thumbnails before I start drawing.
I find that the thumbnail process is the process that I love the most. Um, Finishes, the actual finish lines, I love the way they come out. It's just they take the longest amount of time in some cases.
Yeah.
Because everything's done. I remember there is this artist I used to like music artist, D'Angelo, and he come out with like an album every 10 years, it feels like, right?
Yeah.
And when he came out with the second album, everyone was like, so you gonna make us wait again? And he's like, honestly, so they asking him, actually they first they asked him, what took so long on this album? And he goes, honestly, it's the process was so fun, I didn't want to stop. And it was like, when I first read it, I was like, man, whatever, because I didn't understand what he was talking about.
Yeah.
Then I started drawing, comics, professionally, and that's when I figured out what he was talking about. Yeah, the process of drawing, sometimes the layout stage is the absolute funnest because you're getting the raw lines. Like even as I'm drawing right now, some of these lines I'm not going to keep as I do the finished line here in a moment, and
Hmm.
that's a part of the finding out process that you have when you're drawing these things is that sometimes what you put down at first, which is the reason why we do this in pencil first, does not represent the final line. And thank goodness, because if you saw some of our first initial lines, my goodness, nobody would buy our stuff. We would just have a bunch of scribbles out there, and I think people would feel like they could draw it themselves at that point. But
Right.
what I try to do is try to create images that even though the editor may be asking me for one thing, I'm trying to do something beyond what they ask. So, and that's with every project. I don't care what it is. If they ask me to draw um, a character with vampire teeth, I'm gonna say, okay, so how you want me to draw some really big vampire teeth? Or, do you want me to draw um, the characters kind of like leaning on one another? Like I'm gonna really get into whatever it is, and try to add something else other than what they're asking for. Because if they want a picture, if they want a photograph, they could just get a photograph, and that will cost them nothing. Whereas if they're gonna hire me, they want something that I'm going to bring to the project. And I think every artist who, no matter what stage of the game you're in, whether that's inking, whether that's coloring, or especially if it's coloring, um, add something, because the whole point of you being there is quality control. And
Yeah.
sometimes the person who starts the project, as in the penciler, can't put in everything because of time.
Hmm.
Whereas everybody else down the line can just add just the little 2 cents, like because even the artist who's penciling it, we're technically we're not the writers, well, unless we write it. Um, so therefore, we're not putting in everything that the writer had in mind. The writer may have had um, a scene, for instance, with 2,000 um, 2,000 people like watching a fight or whatever, right? You're not going to sit in there and draw all 2,000 people, man. That's just not possible. Where I mean, it is possible, but you'd be sitting there forever. Whereas you just wanted to like kind of like imply that there are 2,000 people there, you know? And
Hmm.
that's where knowing how to pull back and where to add in, that's the experience level. Like I'm not gonna sit here and say that I quite have that figured out. I think I feel like I figured that out every image that I'm approached with. And I think that's just the way how all artists go, you know? Some artists have it easier. Some artists can tell you, I'm gonna have this done by X amount of time, and great for them. But I like to, I like to shock myself to see if there's something that I could pull out of myself that I didn't see. And 9 times out of 10, most of the projects that I work on nowadays, especially, they're always giving me something that I would have never done on my own. And I appreciate that, you know?
Yeah. One of the things I love, I like absolutely love about your artwork. Now, for those of you, because I didn't get into it, but I met Koi at a convention and I was walking by his table. And Koi's table, he didn't have a lot. So like I couldn't see it from far away. But the moment I walked by his portfolio that he had laying out or his artwork that he had laying out, it immediately caught my eye. Like I was just like, whoa, what is
Appreciate that.
this guy's lines are insanely good. Like it, it's it, it's hard to
Appreciate
believe
that.
like how clean your line work is because when I saw it, I was
Honestly,
blown away.
but you see, the artists who I've hung out with, who I've worked with, um, Adam, Polina, Walter McDaniel, um, obviously Mike Turner, but then a slew of other artists who I've met, one time, like uh, one of my homeboys, Rob Stull, who just passed last week or a couple weeks ago rather, a few weeks ago. Uh, I talked to him, got a lot of information out of him. Jackson Geist got a lot of information out of him. All of these artists are who I would call, and there's a number of other guys who I can name. They're line artists just as much as they are sequential artists. Mike Ringo was another guy, cartoony. Some people would say, but to me, when I looked at his work, he had like a realism to his cartoonism that I wanted to emulate, and I still to this day think about how am I going to emulate that because um, he was great at it. But the thing that I also want to be able to do is illustrate anything that is presented in front of me. And I always figured if you have lines that can only illustrate this but can't illustrate that, you're limiting yourself.
Yeah.
And I think you take yourself out of jobs too when your lines only. If I only sat here and drew thick lines, I would only be able to draw characters with bold shapes. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just that I also want to be able to draw people. Um, I have family members that have asked me in the past, hey, draw me, and um, if it doesn't look that good, they're gonna let me know,
Yeah.
So I have a tendency to want to make sure that my lines are diverse enough, and I think that's what a lot of people when they come up and they say, man, your line work is this or that, and I always get real appreciative of that compliment because I spent a lot of time focusing on line work that after a while I kind of forgot that it was something that I do.
Hmm.
And when people, now when people come up to me and they comment on my line work, I'm always a little like even just you just now, I'm a little stunned sometimes at first because I used to always consider that to be the weakest part of my game.
Oh
And
wow.
when I moved out here to LA and started working at Aspen, that was one of the things that I wanted to work on so bad because Mike, you know, and the rest of those guys came from Top Cow, and therefore they worked with Mark Silvestri, who was one of my favorite artists
Yes.
coming up. I mean, he was one of my favorite that I would, even though I didn't have access to Mark, I had access to all of his students.
Hmm.
So I would ask them little crazy little questions, and I know sometimes they were like, "Man, what?" Like we're drinking, man, and it's like you're talking about line work and we're drinking, and it's like, yeah, this is perfect time. I got you on that truth serum, and I get them to tell me whatever it is that they were that they could tell me in that moment. but I took all of that, all those lessons, and actually practiced. Sometimes, I literally have pages, like there's a sketchbook that I have back here, where literally it's just lines, like it looks like one of those tic-tac-toe like lines,
Yeah.
and it's not tic-tac-toe. Obviously, it's actually like thin lines, and I'll make sure that the lines spaced between each line is spaced evenly, and that's you know, after you practice stuff like that for a while, you become pretty good at it. I think,
Yeah.
practice makes perfect, as the saying goes. But something else that I've been doing lately that I think really has helped out my line work, though. Um, I've been learning a little bit of Japanese lately, and
Oh.
I've been forced to write kanji, and I've honestly, I really got into it because of the design aspect of it, but it accidentally ended up working on my line work, because of how you hold the pencil, how far back rather you hold the pencil, kind of gets you to loosen up a little bit as you're writing these strokes down. And there was another guy by the name of, keeping that in mind, drawing so light to the point where you just kind of throwing the lines down. There was another guy, Peter Hahn. He's from I'm sure if you go online and just look up Peter Hahn, go to his Instagram or his Facebook, or I think he even has a YouTube page. And I'm not certain he's on there as much though. This guy has a book called Dynamic Sketching, an amazing book because he's teaching you how to do is how to throw a line down and leave it. Something that another guy tried to get me to do as well. Throw the line down and leave it, and that takes a little bit of confidence, and it takes a lot of practice. So what I'm basically trying to say is that all of when you compliment me on my lines, it's experience, yes, but there's a lot of people who ask a lot of questions at these same conventions to get um, to get as much information out of them. Because for me, um, I, I I I I peppered them with questions every time I would see them. Um, I don't know whether they would, kind of go, "Oh my God, here he comes again," but I would ask a bunch of questions, and then, and in some cases, I would just watch them draw. And what I found, especially when I watched Mike draw, um, what I found was, they just threw the lines down, and it it was like as if they didn't really worry about what was going to happen next. But what I found out was, it's more than that. What I found out is that you're throwing the lines down, but you're constantly thinking about that next line or how the shadow is going to hit.
Hmm.
And the more you practice it, the easier it gets. So I stick to lines, but the lines are dictated out of shadows. And as long as I keep that in mind, I figure that my pencil is going to move in the direction of the form. So like even right now, as I'm drawing in this shadow here, I'm trying to enhance the shape, making sure that everything goes round, not not okay, the shadow's up here, so therefore everything is just gonna blindly follow it. Yes, but I have to make sure that I reinforce the form, and I think that's what a lot of people like when they say they like the line work. I think they see me leaving open spaces to recognize that there's places where the shadow drops and places where the light starts to hit, and you have to know how to navigate from light to dark, no matter what the drawing is, whether you're drawing a cartoony drawing or whether you're drawing a realistic drawing. So that's
So now,
what I
now the
do.
tough questions here.
Okay.
What's the what's the your favorite piece of art you've ever done, and the one that still haunts you to this day that you're just like every time I see that, it just bugs me.
So the one that keeps coming back, but I'm proud that I drew it though, uh, is Detective Comics 356 or 357. 756 or 757. I think it's those two numbers actually, not 356. It's way back. Um, that 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 was the first issue that I drew where I was like, wow, okay, I actually think I actually know what I want out of my artwork now. I think when I
Mm-hmm.
got to page 16, I was like, oh, this, all right, I didn't know what I was doing before, but for some reason, this issue is showing me that I got a little bit of something and I need to hone
Oh,
what I have.
can you put your hand to the camera again? There we go. It keeps catching your hat, so it
Yeah, it
starts
keeps
blurring.
catching.
Do it back
Let
up.
me do that one more
Yeah, I
time.
didn't do it. Wait, give it a second. Oh, it doesn't want to do it now.
Yeah, for some reason. Hold on 1 second. Let me get out of this.
You move your hand out and then just bring it back.
All right.
Oh,
Wow.
odd. It doesn't want to.
It doesn't want to. Oh, there we go. Hang on.
No, it's not your friend. Try your other hand. Maybe it's because of the glove. I don't
There
know.
you go.
Oh, there it goes.
Did
Perfect.
it just pop in? Yeah, there you
Yeah.
go. So let me see if I keep my head out of the way. So, because it might just be my big old head. But what were you saying? This, what were you about to ask just a
Oh,
second
what
ago?
was the artwork that comes back to haunt you that you're just like, that's not
Oh,
great?
the
And which one's your favorite?
right. So my favorite issue, I still say, is Superman Confidential #7. Um, in terms of what's printed, because that's, oh man, that was just a fun issue. #1 had started out with the broken neck Lois Lane. I know I'm kind of telling the story here, but it was just too cool not to talk about. So I'm
Yeah.
just gonna say it. Um, First off, Lois Lane's neck was broken. Superman just goes snap, and he pretty much just puts, I mean, just a can of whoop. Well, he beats the heck out of Lex Luthor. This Lex Luthor is the one who broke her neck.
Yeah.
So it was just raw emotion, and what I did for the how I drew that issue, or drew that those couple of pages anyway. I made it as frenetic as I can make it, as in the camera angle was different. The the I made sure that the action was more important than sometimes the viewer being able to navigate what was up or what was down. I wanted
Yeah.
the emotion of Superman to come through so much that he was angry. And when was the last time you saw Superman this angry, other than in Superman the first movie, when he went
Yeah.
when he I think made the whole world spin backwards. So I wanted to put that type of emotion in, and man, I had a fun time drawing it. Whenever that book shows up, I'm always like, man, I actually can remember what I was thinking when I drew this. Um, there's issues of Fathom, like I think issue #9 was one of my favorite, even though it was the fastest that I had to draw. It was still one of my favorites because of the action that was going on in it. There was an underwater dogfight for like from issue 9 all the way up until issue I think actually issue 9 and 10 were dogfights. So it was fun. And um the last issue was fun as well. It was just a fun series in terms of learning what my pencil can do, because there was a lot that I just did not know prior to working on that title. That title taught me a lot about myself in terms of what well, like I said, what I can do with a pencil, because up until that point I only thought with a pencil. Working with Aspen, I started to see things in color. And I never really saw myself as a colorist.
Uh-huh.
So and then also, like, I had a bunch of mentors that would always advise me, and I think kind of rightfully, but I wish they hadn't, advised me to just kind of pick a lane and stick with it, right?
Yeah.
I stuck with pencils, but I wish upon wish upon wish upon wish I had also listened to my art teacher in high school and stuck it out with the color thing, because she was always like, you could be a great painter if it was if the paint was in a pencil. It's like you could do anything with a pencil, but when it comes down to painting with a brush, it's like you're kind of lost. And I
Yeah.
was, because that was like an entirely different utensil that I was using. And I didn't quite know how to manipulate at that time anyway, um, a brush. But I think
Yeah.
forget learning how to manipulate a brush, understanding color theory. That's what I feel like I should have uh, kind of ran with, or at least kept studying on, because that's the part of the game now that I'm more interested in. And as I start to leave more room for color, um, it starts to it's like as I'm starting to leave more room for color with my pencils, it's starting to become more interesting with every single project. So that's the only, if there's
Yeah.
only one regret, I have that, it's that.
There's still time. I
Oh,
learned
I'm still
I learned
learning.
color late. So
How late is it for
I
you though? Like, what do you consider late?
um I started like actually trying to color to get my colors out there like maybe like
Mhm.
5 years ago. Prior to that,
Okay.
it was just I want to color my own stuff just for fun, but I want to I want to be a penciler. I only want to do line art, and then I would see that my colors suck, so I really started to learn about color. So yeah, I haven't been doing
See,
it that long
but that's the thing.
with color.
When I look at your colors, though, to me it informs me that you do have a drawing side to yourself. I think the reason why the best colorists have a tendency to know how to do both. And
Mm,
even if, let's say, one skill isn't quite reaching to the level that that the other can, you
yeah.
still do both. Like, for instance, right now my coloring is not even though if I sat there long enough, I'll get the results I want.
Hmm.
But it will take a while. So I have to kind of like tell myself, all right, look, that's obviously a long-term ambition, but not, when I say long-term, I don't mean like when I'm like 60, I'm going to finally be able to do it. No, I mean like in the next year or so, I hope anyway, But what I hope is that it still has like the effects that my pencils can give, and that I'd rather keep giving out the pencils and keep implementing whatever it is that I'm trying to implement per issue with that project, than to be stuck working on one image for a long time, knowing that I can get the results, but just it will just be a while. And
Yeah.
I that's the part that if there's anything I'm still kind of getting used to, is the time aspect of drawing, how long everything takes. That part, it makes me relinquish the color aspect of things a little easier.
Yeah.
As long as the person is really good, I can relinquish it. But it's just that is an aspect that I want to get really good at, though. You know, and
Yeah.
I
The
think
thing
you
that
shouldn't you shouldn't stop yourself from doing it. You
yeah,
know, go ahead.
I was never good at inking. Hate
Mm.
Still hate it. That's why I just started drawing in blacks since I do digital. I was like, let me skip all that.
Mm.
Um and just go straight to inks because I hate it. I would do a drawing and now I have to do it again, because I'm running nine
Yeah,
lines.
yeah, yeah.
I hate that. Um,
I get that. I get that. I get that.
it's also like with flatting for coloring. Everybody knows I hate flatting. Like, this is the
Mm.
worst. I hate flatting. And people have tried to show me this is my little trick for not flatting. I'm like, but you're still flatting. Like, I just hate it. If I didn't have to
Yeah,
do it, it'd be
yeah.
great.
I swear, like if there is one thing about coloring over comics, the flatting aspect of things, I wish that wasn't there. Only because like when you're painting with a brush, you just paint what you want, right?
Yeah.
I wish that same type of like the ability to get the ability to get what I want with a brush. I wish it was just as easy to get it on a computer, because
Mm-hmm.
the flatting aspect of it to me is what bores me. Um, to me, once it's done, and now all I'm doing is just rendering. Oh, that's the fun part, and I think that's what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Um, if I could just start with a render, considering all the lines are already there, and all I gotta do is just um, if there was a way to make the flatting process quicker, I'm all for that.
You know, they they have a couple of programs, and I remember I believe you say his name, Brian Harberlin.
Haberlin, yeah, yeah,
Haberlin, yeah.
Haberlin. Sorry, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
he had a
He's
video
awesome.
showing how to do it, how to use this program to
Mm-hmm.
digitally flat for you, and it would just
Mm-hmm.
put colors where it thought it should go. But when I would do mine, because I do so many lines, that it would put all these tiny little lines everywhere, and I was like, this is useless to me. Like I'm gonna have to
Mm-hmm.
flat the old-fashioned way, and like
It's like you putting in all this work, and it's supposed to make it easier. Like I think Clip Studio Paint has this thing called uh color some not but anyways, basically it puts on a layer of color that it thinks your
yeah,
line work can do. And sometimes it has pretty good effects, but most times you end up just having to just redo the whole thing anyway. So
yeah,
it's
and
kind of it go ahead.
and a lot of times with those, the cleaner your lines, like the less detail, the better it works. For me,
Right.
it's just a pain in the butt.
And for me, yeah, that's another thing too. I may have clean lines when it's done, but my initial drawing of the lines, they're not clean. And sometimes
Mhm.
it will get pretty messy depending on the scene. So when it when I ask for it to, I guess when it tries to separate this and that part, it doesn't always register um accurately. Or at
Mhm.
least, like I said, the results that I get, I end up feeling I'm coloring the thing anyway from scratch because I end up not
Yeah,
using the colors. So, you know, I think this what we're talking about is just the process of coloring. It's just this it's the time of coloring. You know, like it's a of producing anything. I just think time is the factor that you always have to beat, and
yeah,
you're never going to be happy with the amount of time that you don't have because that's just another thing too. You want forever to work on a project, or at least the amount of time that you want, and you're never going to get that, you know.
no,
So it's a matter of trying to figure out how how to make your skills work within a time that you can get at least 80% of what you want, because if you could
hmm,
put in 80 to 60 to 80% of what you want, the average viewer is going to think you put in 100.
yeah,
And I think that's the trick. I think if we could figure out that, it makes the whole process a little easier. But then again, you talk to us 20 years from now, we'll probably be still telling you the same thing. Yeah, this is still taking me a while. You
for
know,
sure.
so I mean, I've been saying that for a long time. Like when I first started doing this, I was like, man, this is like I'm working 16 hours a day, and um sometimes it feels like as if I don't get any sleep. And here it is, years later, I'm still saying the same thing. So I just think that is there's a Andrew Loomis has this line on one of his books. Um, Art is long and time is fleeting, or maybe he's like flip it. Time is fleeting
Hmm.
and art is long, one of the two. And I find that is the most comforting line because basically it forces me to sit down and work. Because if it takes a long time to do any job, you might as well just get to it. Like I like how when you first started this thing, you was like, let's just get to it, and I was like, yep, there you go,
Yeah,
because that's time is of the essence. I mean, because when someone's asking for stuff to get done, you want to sit there forever and work, not forever. You want to sit there and make sure that it looks the way that you envisioned it. And
absolutely.
sometimes, like the amount of time that you're given isn't it just isn't there.
Yeah,
And like I said, you have to tell yourself, okay, look, if I could put in 60 to 80%, believe me, it will look good. But you have to trust that that 60 to 80% is going to have that type. If you're doing multiple pages, that is, you have to hope, or at least plan, like that 60 to 80% is going to carry through the whole book.
yeah.
um you asked me earlier what's some stuff that I'm most proud of. There's a book that I'm working on for myself, Soul Retriever, that the pages that I've finished for it, I'm just going to tell you right now, it's the best work of my life. No one
Oh
will see
wow.
that until it's no one will see that until one, I get a second issue finished, and
Hmm.
two, I just want to make sure that when we put it out, there's no time delays because one of the things that hurts independence is time delays. When the work doesn't come out, and I want
Yeah.
the work to look a certain way. I don't want it to be perfect because I'm not looking for that. I never am looking for the perfect. But like I said, I'm looking for 60 to 80%.
Yeah.
And um, this book is where I got that whole thought process from because some of those pages I didn't go for broke on. I actually kind of let some of it loose because it just didn't tell the story. It didn't make sense to put in a whole bunch of detail if people were just gonna just flip through that page. So that was something I had to teach myself. But if you look at some of those pages, they look pretty good. And there's another project that I worked on for Frederick Douglass. I still have those pages, and I mean the pages, in my opinion, that was some of my best work as well at that time. I just think that you know where you can't you can constantly look for your best work, and your best work doesn't always come out because of the project that you wanted to work on. Sometimes the best project is the project that you absolutely hated um when you was working on it, and people walk up to you and be like, oh my god, that was amazing, and it's like, really?
Yeah, I know
Like,
that one.
okay. It's like, okay, I don't want to bust your bubble, so I'm not gonna say anything. I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about like the person who's asking for who says that the page looks great or the work looks great. But there's a couple of books where that have come back. That This is one with Batgirl.
Mhm.
I thought the story was really good, but man, like I was telling you earlier about my eyes, the drawing of eyes. The drawing of the eyes in that book was just horrible. But every year I get somebody to come up to me and push that book in front of me to sign, and I'm always like, wow, man. I shake the person's hand extra enthusiastically every time because uh, one, it was one of my first DC books,
Yeah.
so it was one of those books where I didn't know what I was doing. But I was so thankful that they gave me that opportunity to work on that um, I did it. I mean, someone, if DC calls you and says they got a project, you're gonna do it in a heartbeat, aren't you?
Yeah.
So I had no problems. But when I read the script, I was like, oh man. At first, I was like, oh man, I don't know, this isn't really what I want to do. Then I started working on, I think, the first page, and I got into it, and I mean, into it. And I tried my best on every page after that. I think the last few pages, the deadline was getting kind of close, so I did kind of have to skimp those pages in. But the rest of it, man, I had a fun time for my little. I think I was 22 or something like that at the time. So it was fun. It
Well,
was
we are
fun,
getting to the hour, and I like to keep it at an hour because I don't want to keep anybody too long.
no doubt.
So let me you hold that up. How awesome that is.
I'm almost done with this bad boy as well. Oops, did it?
There it is. Your lines, man.
Uh,
Seriously, I mean
Another
this in the
20 or
best
so
way.
minutes.
I hate you the way you draw your lines.
I
let me
appreciate
switch
it,
this
man.
back to
No, I
this.
like, but like I said, with the lines to go back, it's I'm really emphasizing form. That's all it really is. Like I don't think I'm creating anything new. Somebody else would call it parallel cross hatching, and
Hmm.
that is to a degree what it is. I think after a while, when you're in this rhythm all the time, your lines are going to come out beautifully if you keep practicing
Yeah.
over and over and over and over. And you were saying earlier, you know, you came to the game late. I think sometimes we have to like tell ourselves, okay, look, I want this, but I have to work up to what I really want. Just keep
Yeah.
working at it, man. Like if it's what you really want, to draw comics or to draw anything for that matter, um practice, like just do it because no one's going to stop you except you. And
Yep.
if you believe in yourself, that, I want to do this, or I just love to do it. I mean, you don't need to have a whole bunch of people reading your work. It could just be you loving to do it at home, and then all of a sudden one day, your daughter walks up and she's like, "Whoa, I kind of like these. Why don't we sell these?" And you're like, "No, I had no intentions of that." Ah, well,
Yeah.
but there it is. You know what I mean? The idea is
Yeah.
now born. So just keep doing it, because one, I've seen your stuff. So to me, I would tell you keep doing it. The colors don't look the way they do because the colors, the pencils suck or something. No, there's something there. It's just that right now your skill with color is what's popping, and it's just a matter of time of things, getting back to this. Can you see my hands?
No.
Well, okay. Well, it's. Let me see if I can move in here. There
There
you
you
go.
go.
It's a matter of it balancing, things
Yeah.
balancing back. You know what I mean? I know that's kind of weird, but it was, but just have faith in yourself, because no one else is gonna love your stuff except for you. But you, if you like your stuff first, everybody else will like it afterwards. You just got to keep
Yeah.
practicing. That's all it
Yeah.
is. That's all it is.
Absolutely. So,
Nah,
Koi,
appreciate you having me on, man. Like,
yeah, this was awesome. We're gonna have to do this again.
for sure, for
It was a
sure.
blast. I've seen you at two conventions. We talk, I think, sometimes way too long because we're just enjoying the
Yeah, yeah,
conversation.
yeah,
And
yeah,
we're like,
yeah,
"Oh,
yeah.
am I in the way? Because you got all these people waiting." I always feel bad.
No, I mean, once I get a good conversation about art, I can go. I can go.
Yeah.
You know,
And we didn't even get
as you
into
can tell.
baseball in this episode. We'll save that for another time.
Oh boy, we didn't even do that. So maybe so maybe another episode we can have like a side drawings of some of our best players or something like that, man. You see Trout, uh,
All right,
Trout.
man.
So anyways,
Let everybody know what you got coming. Is there any shows? I know you have a project you can't talk about yet, but any other
yeah,
things
yeah,
you have coming
definitely.
out that you could let us know
So
about?
basically, I do have two projects that actually I am gonna promote on Instagram when I actually, when I actually do get some more of that actually done. And actually, once those projects are actually out and I can actually talk about them, yeah, I'll promote them on Instagram. But for the moment, I'm at Koi Turnbull Art on Instagram. I have a Facebook page by the same name. And for right now, I think that's it. Yeah, well, I do have Blue Sky, of course. Koi Turnbull at Blue Sky. So just
Oh,
catch me
that's the thing
at
I need
all
to
the
get.
social media spots. It's growing. It's growing. It's
Yeah,
growing.
yeah. I'm always behind. I talk to your wife and I'm like, I'm always behind stuff. He had posted
Oh,
something
she
sometime. I'm
catches.
like, is this a social media thing I should be on? And she's like, no,
Yeah,
it's
she
it's
catches
this.
me
I
up
was like,
like for real.
yeah.
Yeah, she catches me on things like even today setting all this up. It was like honestly, it was a little bit of both of us. Like at first, I came here and did the heavy work, and then she came in here and did all the software work, and it was like, yeah. I need you. I need you for just this very reason. you know?
All right, man. Thank you so much for coming on. I had a great time. It's awesome chatting with you. For those of you
Same here, bro.
watching, go check him out. Go pick up his books. He's awesome. Can't say enough about his artwork, and go check out his pencils because they are insane. Like,
Also, check me
I've
out on
seen.
I have a website as well, koiturnbull.com. I have a lot
There
more
you
work
go.
on there as well.
Go find
So
him there, and hopefully you'll see him on more lives. He needs to start his own.
yeah, I eventually.
All right. All right, we'll see you guys soon. Thank you again to Koi for joining us, and we will see you
As
guys
I
in like
disappear
two
in and out.
weeks. Have a good one, everybody.